Welcome, everybody. So we are back at Explore Yoga Health. Today, we are going to talk about conscious conversations. And my guest today is Rasa. And I'm going to have her introduce herself and tell us a little bit about her. I would say that I personally chose her for this because I enjoy having deep, profound conversations with her. So it'll be fun to see what comes up between us. So without further ado, Rasa, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and what you do with your life and hobbies, anything.
Thanks, Shivani. And I appreciate talking to you and talking about conscious connections and conversations. It's a subject that's close to my heart, especially since I've been meditating for many years. And the more that I have deepened that practice, the more and more relationships of individuals are important to me. So I am currently working in a hospital, and I work in a job that's really intuitive in a transfer center where we talk to providers and connect providers together to provide patient care, mainly in emergent situations and for specialties that outlying hospitals may not have. So it can be intense at times, but it relies a lot on past knowledge and the depth of my knowledge in that area. And it just is it's a flow for me. And I really appreciate that. And when I'm not working, I love to be outdoors and to read and to ascend, meditate, be in nature, travel. I definitely travel often. So, and see friends.
Awesome. Yeah, I was wondering if you're going to say travel because I was just noticing how many different locations on Facebook that you kind of have been recently. So
Yes. I'm home for the moment, but never for long.
all right, well, let's dive into the conversation. I'm going to start out. So as similar to what you were saying in your introduction of yourself, that as I began to expand consciousness through my meditation, and it was early on, it was within a very short amount of time after I learned, and maybe that was something that was bubbling up inside of me, I don't know, but I began to really realize that many of my relationships were very surfacey, and I actually feel like what I awoke to was I was putting on this show, and the whole thing was a facade. It was fake, and I was really, really upset about that. It stimulated some changes of which we'll talk later, but I just wondered if there was anything that has happened to you like that you want to talk about or share.
Yes, I would be happy to. When I came back from some time away at a lengthy meditation time of 6 months, I did not reconnect with certain people in my life. I did not pick up those relationships. And what I would say about relationships in the past for me is I was fighting this battle between love and fear, and I knew that I could live my life from a place of love rather than fear. And I didn't know how to do it, hence the reason that I went away and meditated for 6 months. It was life-changing. And in that process, I realized the difference between the inward movement and making that decision from my own heart and my own inner knowing and source self, rather than calling up on the phone every time something happened to check with all my cadres about what I should do before I could make a decision. And I couldn't even really ask myself what I wanted first. And that realization was, just struck me straight to the heart. How did I feel about something? What did I want to do in a certain situation? I was so used to trying to be safe and trying to make sure everyone else had what they wanted so that I could feel okay. And wow, life is so different now, and I'm so appreciative.
Yeah, it's funny. It makes me think of the social norm of, even if you go into a grocery store or something and somebody says, well, how are you? How was your day? Our knee-jerk reaction is just to say, I'm doing great, or I'm fine, or I'm happy, even when that's not the case, and it may even be visible on your face and everything, but that we've created this behavior to falsify what's going on rather than kind of, I mean, maybe you don't want to get into stuff at the grocery store with a stranger. However, there have been multiple times when that has happened in my life after, making the choices that I've made, and watching how it really does open up an opportunity for relief or release in that instance, even with a complete stranger. Um, so that kind of inspired in me that I needed to make some bold changes. So you were talking about that you had ended relationships, and I needed to do the same thing because I was just felt like I didn't really know myself at that time. And I could tell though that there was a lot of falseness in a lot of my really close relationships. It's one thing to be distant in, like, when you go to the grocery store and you don't know that somebody, but to have that kind of behavior with people that were very close to you. And that was a hard choice in my life. And I just thought I'd pause there and see if you have anything to say regarding that.
Well, not only did I end relationships, but there were others that ended relationships with me as well. They, taking on a different name and really diving into my spiritual and meditation practice. Some people just decided they didn't know who I was or didn't fit in their life. And I didn't quite understand that, but I did honor those choices. And I feel like it's really interesting. Like today, when I went into an appointment and the person said, "How are you?" And I was like 3 minutes late, and I'm like, "Not so good today." And it was like three things. I mean, I'm at the orthodontist and I forget my dental trays. I'm like, "What did I do today?" And I'm like, "Am I grounded? Am I connected?" I'm like, checking in. And then, for example, yesterday I had a conversation with a colleague, and it was Mother's Day. About Mother's Day, I said, "How was your day?" Yesterday, this was yesterday, and the person said, "You're the first person who's asked me." They lost a child in the last year, and they have a younger child as well. And they said, "Thanks for asking the hard question." And sometimes it's not easy to talk about, but it's so good for my soul. And it was just one of those, spontaneous connections of really tuning in to another person. And that's what I find fulfilling in my life, being tuned in and asking something to somebody that might not be, they may not even want to answer, which of course is always the option.
Mm-hmm. That's such a great example. I wasn't going to share this, but it inspired in me that something similar has happened to me at work. I work really early in the morning, and so I work with different individuals, and I was just noticing this young woman. She's so attractive, and all the men are really attracted to her. And so I had said something to her, like, "Do you know that so and so like finds you attractive?" And she's like, "What?" And then she came back and said, "Yeah, he does, but I'm not interested because I'm in a relationship." And then she let me know that in the relationship that she's that it's a kind of touch and go type of relationship where she might be in some sort of danger and all of that. So it was really interesting that she was able to get that vulnerable with me. And then I was able to say things back to her like, "That's not okay. I mean, look at all of these men who want you. Why would you even put yourself in that position?" And hopefully, we'll just see how it all pans out. But just because like that, like you're talking about, there's these subtleties underlying what's going on, and I was willing to see it and call it forward, and then she was willing to expose something that hopefully can make a big difference in her life, that where she's not making compromised choices just because,
Sure.
when there's so many other options in life, especially when they're just being like knocking on her door. "Hello, could I be the one for you, please?" You know?
It's really interesting because when you have those conversations, you really tune into what is underlying and what underlying needs may be there, met or unmet. And I think that's, as one becomes more conscious and more aware of who they are and have taken that journey, I call it the inward journey, um, to really find out, who is that source inside of me. I think that it's just a valuable tool, and I want those connections with people on a regular basis.
Yeah, and so that leads us to the kind of next section here. So I had talked about leaving particular relationships in my life, and they were very close relationships. They were familial relationships. What was fun for me is that once I had finally come to a place where I had enough experiences with deeper relationships in my world around me, then I realized that I was at a stage of growth where I needed to at least open the doors to the family members that I had closed to protect myself. And it was amazing for me to watch how what I had wanted all along, but I was too afraid because I didn't know how to do it at that time. I didn't know how to, like, just take the risk and go beyond and call the subtleties forward. That once I began doing that, then these relationships became very, very deep and profound for me. And I think that that's kind of the point of our topic here is that it can be scary to make these transitions, but when you do, the relationships that are meaningful or profound are always there, and they just do nothing but grow deeper. And so I was just wondering if you wanted to share any stories or anything like that, either old or like old connections or even new connections that you're meeting or making now.
I'm finding, I think, a mix. I have people that I have remained with my family in friendship who have since left the family and through divorce or something. And then now that that I'm changing, they're kind of like, oh, I don't know. And so I'm just keeping that door open. And with my family, we lost, my dad passed on a year ago now, and it was intense. And the family connections, without the family, the matriarch and patriarch, I'm most close to one of my brothers. And my other siblings, I have three other siblings, just don't seem interested. And I had to really ask myself, was that interest there before? And what was really in that relationship? And what was in that relationship was my desire to have connection, my desire to be together with family. So now that I'm not calling once a month and those sorts of things, I'm not hearing from these individuals. Whereas my brother and I are talking daily or weekly and just kind of enjoying this awakening journey. And he has since in the last year just, really discovered a lot of things through broken relationship as well. And so it's sad to me, but I'm not as sad as I was when I made up what I thought that should look like and could never attain it. I wasn't like I was getting invited to holidays or things like that, but I wanted it. And so once I've let that go and kind of moved on from that, we'll see what happens. It's an open door. I'm not closing that door. I just I think they think I'm weird, actually, and they're not sure what to do with me because I say what I think and I do what I say. But I think while I was helping with dad, they were afraid that I'd like book it because I could really, my dad and I were, close, and he trusted me. And I took a vacation once and they were like, you just can't do that. You just can't go away and not let it, and I realized it was fear. It was their fear that something would happen and then I wouldn't be there to handle it. So it's really interesting and I'm sad about it, but I'm also not, I'm being able to detach a little from it. So
Yeah, it's interesting for me. I think that um, I don't know how to say it, but and without it sounding a little cold, but I think in some instances that's necessary because there are people that I love that we just aren't like compatible. You know what I mean? Like spending a holiday with them does not sound like a fun way to, because for example, if I eat a particular way or if I don't use alcohol or, drugs or something like that, I can love them and then and I think that there's many different social kind of traits and behaviors and such that make people incompatible. And yet, like as you were talking about your relationship with your brother, all I could really connect with is the same sort of experiences that I have when I talk to the family members that I am connected with, like right now, that we can get on the phone and end up talking for like, actually, some of them will say that is like, gosh, I almost hate calling you because I will talk for like an hour and a half or 2 hours and then I have to hang up because I have other things I have to do. But there's so much enlivenment because they
Yeah.
are making choices to challenge themselves and grow. And then, that's what I'm all about. I know it's what you're about. So then once you get two people that are talking about expansion and growth, and it's just like sets, the relationship aspect on fire.
Time disappears. And so, yes, I think once I have detached and been more real with myself about what that's really about and more honest, that really has come and grown a lot inside of me to make my own choices that way and not to feel badly about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I also just think it's cool because that each individual is different in the way, like I don't know if my audience has picked this up or our audience has picked this up, but um there was a subtlety in the difference between what Rasa and I did. Like the way that I did it, I cut hard and Rasa kept the doors open and she kept, so there's more sweetness and softness to Rasa than there may be in the way that I had approached the things in my life. And in that, I think that then there's the way that we navigate the experiences are unique, and that should be absolutely embraced because everybody is different and they are needing to have their own internal awakening. I was talking to my oldest child actually just recently, and she was so excited about something and super excited, and she really wanted me to be excited about it too, and I'm like, I'm trying, and I get it. I'm excited that this is a meaningful thing for you, but for me it just kind of seems like another type of thing. And yet she'll talk about something else and I'll become so extremely enlivened and impassioned by what it is that she's saying. Anyways, I just thought I'd throw that out there because that's an aspect of this. The conscious connections is how
Yeah.
unique people experience their lives.
And to find so many people wanting the same thing, as I think like consciousness finds like consciousness, and talking about chosen family rather than necessarily blood family. Um, and I think a lot of people are getting a lot more comfortable with having a family and really connecting with that family that is not their birth family per se.
Yeah, you had actually even shared a story about that when you were on your last trip, that you had met some
Mm-hmm.
individuals or something like that.
I did in India. I met some great, great people, and a couple of them live on the East Coast, so we're all in the Eastern time zone. And we just connected, and we've been trying to stay in touch every few weeks. And it seems like when we communicate, a topic sort of rises in the conversation. We're only talking for 30 or 40 minutes because we've kind of set a time frame on it for the reason that you mentioned earlier. And it's simply connection. This last conversation was about chosen family and the different ways that we are trying to do that. As I age, I'm thinking, how do I want that to look? If I don't want to be in a home, do I want to have my own place? And the youngest of the group was asking the same question: should I buy a home? How should I make that look? Do I want to just travel back and forth between locations? And I don't happen to live with or even in the same state as my significant other. And so there's a lot of untraditional relationships. And some of this is kind of on the leading edge of how we conduct our life and what choices we're making, and how do we satisfy our soul self at the same time that we satisfy our need to be intimate and have relationships with others and to be connected.
Oh, that's such a great topic to really ponder in each individual's lives, because there's a lot of discussion about how the family structures have kind of broken, and we're our society is experiencing the byproducts of that right now. But if they were able to, like, if you were able to create these families that were maybe not so blood related but are related from the heart connections, I don't know, just listening to you talk, I was thinking, wow, I mean, if there could be this group or this structure that you create around yourself, and there are the younger ones that may want have somebody that they love and they treasure living with them as they're aging, all of those things. There's so many unconventional
Mhm.
ways that it could bring in the aspects of the family dynamics, but maybe not necessarily blood related. I mean, that would be pretty cool.
Yes. One of the other people that we were talking with has been gave up a daughter to others who they're all still in connection. They vacation together. So this relationship never ended. And I was thinking of maybe I have a property, and maybe on the higher floor, the people that are really active, they can help the people that are on the lower level. And I'm like, this is kind of an interesting idea. And who knows where that will go. But as I did not want to be I guess, dependent totally on Uncle Sam and the government, et cetera, as I aged. And so that was a thing that I chose to do, to be more independent in my aging years. And I can kind of guarantee that my two children are like, that's great, Mom, because we're probably not going to be those people. And they're pretty honest about it. So it's interesting, and they're finding their way too.
Yeah, that's a really cool thing that again surprises me. It's always so fun to have these little conversations because I never know where they're going to go, and it's a really that's a really powerful thought. Right now, I'm in a class where they're talking about um, social transformation and world peace, and one of those aspects is joining individuals together that are well that are expanding consciousness or that are meditating. And in that one, um, I could, I mean, I see the value in that, but then I also am seeing like if communities are coming together, chosen communities are coming together and they are able to live the types of lives where they're full of all of those aspects, because our relationships are so much more than just our significant others. We need other relationships in our lives. And when we have those, then we become more dynamic, more full. And then our aging years will be able to be lived because then there are needs that of the other people, whether that means that as we're the older one that we're the wise one or whatever, that there's significance to our place or our piece in that. So super awesome. Thanks for sharing that with me.
It's really important, Giovanni, because I'm even thinking about like rent a grandma because I'm not going to have grandkids either, and that was not an easy thing for me, but I am aware of that. And so I thought, well, so a couple people I know have younger kids, and I hang out with them, and I love it, and they love me, and it's super neat. And they see me, they light up. Who's coming over? Is it Rasa? And that's like, no, it's your grandma.
Aw.
So it's just really sweet to expand the horizon of what that means, of sharing this love that's just flowing out of you, and to direct it at one person would be a little intense, I
Yeah.
think. So
Or should
yeah,
direct it somewhere where it needs to be controlled, which is the main thing of what we're talking about is that there are locations, there are places that can be discovered where you're living more free, where you're able to just discuss, to talk, to open up the channels of love. And why not? You know, just because they're
and
not
just
your blood,
yeah, just be who you are,
Yeah.
even if it's a little weird and a little crazy sometimes.
Well, especially in that case, I've had a couple business coaches that were saying to me, you know what, you need to just get more comfortable at just being you in front of that camera because I like you, so why not just let yourself be you? Because maybe not everybody's going to like you, but there is definitely a group of individuals that will, regardless of who you are, what you're like, or yeah,
And I think kind of quirky is a little okay.
I think so too.
From one ready head to another.
Exactly. Well, we are running short on time, so do you have any closing thoughts that you'd like to share with the audience?
I just think that take the leap. If you want to be more closely connected with someone, um, open up the conversation, ask the next layer of question. Um, and the caveat can be if you feel comfortable sharing, or, I'm kind of liking this conversation and I'd like to go a little deeper. Can we take this a little deeper? Or when people want to talk with you, but they're kind of keeping it a little on the surface. And I think the surface for us is a little different than maybe the general public. And then just to ask that next deeper question and just to see how the other, reacts. Maybe they don't want to talk about it right now. Maybe they come back later to discuss it. Or maybe they just sink right in and they're like, oh my gosh, somebody really wants to listen. Someone wants to hear what I have to say. And it's important. So I just think that human connection without devices, and granted we're on Zoom, but is just, I don't want to lose that in our society. I just think that our family structures, whatever they look like, are so much richer and more loving and full when we're actually living our lives and not just sitting on the sidelines.
That's awesome. What a great message to leave everybody with. And I just going to let you guys know that if you want to reach out or talk to Rasa, she does not have a website. So the best way to do that is going to be to leave some sort of comment in the below the video, and I can help you reach out to her, or you can always use my contact information, and I'll let her know that you're interested in talking with her, and then we'll see what we can do from there. Other than that, thanks so much for coming on. I'm just loving it. I think you have a great camera presence, and I am thinking of all these topics, so maybe you'll come back and talk some more.
Well, thanks, Shivani, and you too. So enjoy your day, everyone, and come back and listen to Shivani.
Thanks. See you guys.